This is 1 acre. Most people look at it and see a backyard, a weekend hobby, a money pit you pour cash into and never get back. They're wrong. On a piece of land exactly this size, people are earning $50,000 a year. No tractor, no contractor, no loan they'll spend a decade paying off. I'm not going to throw numbers at you and leave you guessing. I'm going to show you exactly how each one works, what you grow, how you set it up, and how it turns into money. 5 ways, start to finish. And stay to the fourth one. It's the method that needs the least space and the least money to start, and most people have never even heard of it. One rule before we start, and it runs through all 5. Small space, high value, and you sell it yourself. A farmer who sells to a middleman earns pennies. A grower who sells straight to the customer keeps it all. Burn that into your brain. Let's build your acre.
Method 1 is the backbone of your whole acre, the market garden. Forget rolling fields and machinery. Picture narrow beds, 30 inches wide, packed tight, where every square foot is working. Here's how you set it up. You mark out permanent beds with narrow paths between them. You never step on the growing soil, so it never compacts. You loosen it with a broad fork, not a tractor. You feed it with compost on top. That's it. No tilling, no heavy equipment. A few $100s of hand tools, and you're growing. Now, what do you grow? Not corn, not potatoes. You grow what earns the most per square foot and grows back fast. Salad mix, spinach, radishes, bunched herbs, baby kale. Crops you can cut and they regrow, or that mature in weeks, so the same bed pays you 3-4 times a season. And this is the part most people get wrong, where you sell it. Not to a grocery chain. You sell at the farmer's market, to local restaurants, or through a weekly veg box people subscribe to. Same lettuce, but you're keeping the full price instead of a fraction of it. This is the most proven model in small farming. Growers run it on a single acre and build a real full-time living from it. The trade-off is honest work. You're out there most days, and you have to find your buyers. But the tools are cheap, and nothing else on this list is as reliable.
Method 2 doesn't need your acre at all, just a shelf indoors. Microgreens. And I want to be clear what these actually are, because the name confuses people. A microgreen is a normal vegetable harvested when it's just a tiny seedling, about an inch or 2 tall, a week or 2 old. You're not growing a full head of broccoli or a full radish. You're growing the baby version, cutting it young and selling the tender shoots. Pea shoots, sunflower shoots, radish, broccoli. Same seeds you already know, just harvested early when they're at their most valuable. Here's the whole process. You take a shallow tray, fill it with a thin layer of soil or a growing mat, and scatter the seeds thick, way thicker than a normal garden because you want a dense carpet. You keep them dark and damp for a few days while they sprout. Then you give them light. In 7 to 14 days, that tray is a thick mat of green. You cut it with scissors, bag it, and it's ready to sell. The magic is the speed and the space. A tray costs almost nothing in seed and soil. It's ready in 2 weeks, and you grow it on shelves stacked vertically, so a space smaller than a parking spot can run dozens of trays at once. You're not waiting a whole season. You're harvesting every 2 weeks, all year. Who buys them? Chefs first. Restaurants love them for plating, and they'll order the same trays every week. Then farmers markets and health-focused shoppers. Lock in a few steady buyers before you scale, because that's the one thing that makes or breaks this. The growing is easy. Selling is the skill.
Method 3 is the one that surprises people because it breaks every rule of farming. No soil, no sunlight, no field. You can grow these in a garage, a basement, or a shed. Gourmet mushrooms. Here's how it works. Mushrooms don't grow in dirt. They grow on a material called substrate, usually straw or sawdust. You sterilize it, mix in mushroom spawn, think of spawn as the seed, and pack it into bags or blocks. Then you put those in a dark, humid space and wait. In a few weeks, mushrooms burst straight out of the bag. You cut them, and the bag often gives you a second and third harvest after that. What do you grow? Start with oyster mushrooms. They're the fastest and most forgiving. Once you've got the rhythm, lion's mane and shiitake sell for more. These aren't the mushrooms in a supermarket can. These are the gourmet kind chefs fight over and pay top dollar for. And because a full cycle is only a few weeks, your money moves fast. You're not waiting months for a harvest. The one thing you cannot skip is cleanliness. Mushrooms are fussy about humidity and contamination. One dirty batch can spoil. Treat it like a clean kitchen, not a dirty barn, and it rewards you.
This is the one I told you to wait for, and it needs the least land and the least money to start. Specialty cut flowers. People dismiss flowers as decoration, and they're leaving real money on the table. Here's how it's done. You pick flowers that produce a lot of stems and keep blooming the more you cut them. Zinnias, dahlias, cosmos, sunflowers, snapdragons. You plant them densely in a strip of beds, just like the vegetables in Method 1. Then you cut early in the morning, get them into water fast, and bunch them. And this is where flowers beat almost everything else. The same handful of stems sells 3 completely different ways. As a simple market bunch, as a weekly bouquet subscription people pay for all summer, or arranged for a wedding, where a few buckets of flowers become hundreds of dollars of event work. You decide how much value you add. A small strip of flowers, sold well, can rival a whole field of ordinary crops. The catch is they're seasonal, and they don't wait. Once cut, you've got about a day to sell them fresh. Which, by the way, leads straight into a trick I'll show you at the end for never wasting a single stem.
Method 5 isn't a new crop. It's the move that turns the other 4 into $50,000. You stack them, and then you add value on top. No single method has to carry the whole number. Picture it on your 1 acre. Vegetable beds as your base, a shelf of microgreens indoors, a shed of mushrooms, a strip of flowers. Each one brings in its own income, in its own season. So if one has a bad month, the others carry you. That's how a real farm survives. And here's the trick I promised. Whatever you don't sell fresh, you don't throw away. You turn it into something with a longer shelf life. Those flowers that wilt in a day, dried, they become bouquets you sell all winter. Extra herbs become dried, jarred herbs. Surplus mushrooms get dried and bagged. You stop being a farmer racing the clock and become a brand with products on a shelf, earning even when nothing's growing. One real-world note. Selling food products from home has rules that vary by area, so check what you're allowed to sell before you start jarring. Once you're clear, the surplus that used to rot becomes some of your best income. 1 acre. The same piece of land most people write off as too small to matter. The difference was never the size. It was knowing what to put on it. Don't try all 5 at once. Pick the one that fits your space and your budget. Start small and let it prove itself before you add the next. That's how every one of these farms actually got built, one method at a time. Tell me in the comments which method you'd start with. It tells me what to break down next, step by step. And if this gave you a real idea you could use, subscribe. Everything on this channel is about turning land into income. Your acre is already worth more than you think. Go prove it.